Hello, you wonderful, wondering wonders out there. I'm not going to say, how's everybody going? Only because I'm pretty sure I know how Oz is feeling. So I'm not going to say that, okay? Because I don't think everybody's really travelling quite well in 2023 with everything that's happening. And boy, since the year started, you really do. I mean, we've got so much happening. I mean, there's just so much happening that's just like exploded for the year, and we haven't even begun. I mean, well, you know, today's the 31st, so tomorrow's the 1st of February. So there you go. There's only 28 days in February. Everybody remember that. I'm sure everybody's aware of that, but there's some that aren't. But anyway, all right, look, there's a few things I want to talk about, a few him-ha niggles, as I call them. And I think everybody in Oz is aware of what's going on, not only with the economy and the inflation, but now the interest rates been hiked, and the gas and the electricity and everything else that's going on. It's a year I don't think people really expected to go this way, and I think there's going to be a lot that Oz is going to have to, really adapt to this year. Hard times are coming, Oz. Hard times are coming. A lot of people, a lot of Oz. The ordinary Joe. But anyway, there's one topic I want to talk about, and I think it's really, really important. I put tubes out before, stating that the COVID stations to be left open after the 31st. And funny enough, I forgot to mention this in a tube, and it was just that the government said that they were closing all the COVID test sites on the 31st, but they were going to leave them open on the 1st or until the 1st. But I think, as we all know, they've realised and they left them open. But I just thought that was ironic how they said that, for those few hours. What would have people been doing on New Year's Eve, for God's sake, not running out and getting tests, government? They would have been celebrating, getting home, that sort of thing. I mean, where's the government's head, people? Really, you gotta think like that. Where's their head, But anyway, but as is, we've all, that's happened, and the COVID test sites are open and that sort of thing. And they haven't reinstated the RSV virus or influenza virus tests there. You still got to go to your doctor at the moment to get those tests. And of course we all know, don't we, that you have to pay to see a doctor, and on top of that you added expensive that you might have to fork out money for, the chemist. Who knows? But it's a lot. It's just not going to get a referral for these tests. There's money involved. And that's my point I'm coming down to. Many, many years ago, we had a man that was the people's PM, and they adored him. And they loved this man. And I think we all know when I say who it is, and that's Bob Hawke. Now, Bob Hawke, everybody loved Mr. Hawke. And he was a wonderful Prime Minister. And he believed in everything he did when he entered Parliament. And he believed in everything that he went to Parliament for, was to strive for the better and the better of the country of Australia. and every single person in that. And he believed that wholeheartedly. And that's why the people loved him. They adored him. And he spoke up also on other matters and got the wheel turning, when at that time was also very deaf with a lot of things that were, in Parliament, but suppressed in Parliament. And Mr. Hawke didn't. He got on with it. And he got matters viewed and the wheel rolling on things, many matters. But one thing Mr. Hawke did, and he wholeheartedly believed in, was in 1983, he believed in a thing called Medicare. And Medicare, basic health insurance for everybody. And he put out an ad saying from newborn baby right up until, the Prime Minister would have one of these green cards and have basic health insurance. And he believed that, and that's why he designed and he put Medicare there for the Australians to maintain their health. And I believe that Medicare has been deserted in lots of ways, because the reason I say that is Mr. Hawke, when he said Medicare would be for everybody, he meant it, and it was for everybody. And it worked for everybody. It worked for the ordinary Joe here in Oz. But Medicare now doesn't. It works for the privatisation of things most of the time. As we all know, with doctors now, they charge people. They prefer they say it's because of the gap. Okay, there is a gap. But a lot of doctors have turned their back on the basic rights and what Medicare stood for and was designed for and put here in Australia for. A lot of doctors say that they can't go on working, they can't have their surgeries open because of that gap, because they're losing out. But I tell you, I've been to some doctors that don't care. It's a you got 15 minutes, okay, and you try and cramp all your problems and everything that you know that's wrong with you, thrown out within 15 minutes. Okay, we're overtime, see you later, book again. But I find that amazing, because is that how people are when they've got to pay for it? Is that how it goes? Where the doctors have got a cut-off point? Is it 15 minutes? Is it 25 minutes? Is it half an hour? What is it? Before the cut-off point, before they start to get niggled. And there's lots of doctors that do get niggled. You pass the point, next patient, move on. So, when they charge, and they say they can't afford to charge because of the gap in Medicare, that's a lot of crap, okay? Because they've decided, they've chosen to turn their back on Medicare. Because I know some doctors that still bulk bill people. And they're not closing their doors. They haven't lost anything. So I think a lot of doctors want to reevaluate why they need Medicare. And it's important because Medicare wasn't designed for doctors. It was designed for basic health insurance for Australians. And that's what it should be for. So if a person rolls up to a doctor and says, look, I'm so sick but I don't have the money, can I still be seen? Should have the right. Where the doctors now play gods and say, no, sorry, no, we don't do bulk billing, you've got to find another doctor. Now how many doctors now are taking on new patients? Not many, I can tell you. And the thing is, the doctors that do bulk bill, I'm sure are at their full capacity, because they care for what happens to their patients. And they're not looking at their watching those 15 minutes or 25 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it is, the consultation time, where I believe, and I think a lot of people and a lot of Aussies out there and ordinary Joes would correct me in a comment if I'm wrong. But I don't think so. I think a lot of people know there's a lot of doctors out there that don't give a rat's damn, couldn't give a rat's damn, darling, quite frankly. And so when they, they're not working for the ordinary Joe, they're working for the money, So Medicare had want to look at that, because Medicare wasn't designed to support doctors in their surgeries and keeping them opening and keeping the running of things. Or was it? I could be wrong, but I think Mr. Hawke said that little green card called Medicare, right, would work for the ordinary Joe, the Australian people, not for the doctors. But anyway, Anthony Albanese, you're a people's person. You're the people's PM. So you have a duty of care to make sure that you follow through with the Medicare and working for the people in Oz, which is really, really important for the basic health insurance to keep going for every Australian, so they don't have to pay the gap or any other fee to see a doctor, especially the working class people, the families, pensioners and so forth. Okay, the majority of them do get bulk billed, and people with concession cards and so forth, and seniors. But for the ordinary Joe, Medicare, there shouldn't be any shadow of a doubt, okay, Anthony Albanese and the Federal Health Commissioner, that Medicare should now, without any more discussion, be brought up to date, brought up to speed with the gap, so people can go and see a doctor without the costs involved. Because to be quite honest, that's what Medicare was designed for. And Mr. Hawke, Bob Hawke, believed in that wholeheartedly for every Australian. So you, as Labor, Anthony Albanese, wouldn't you believe in the same values as Mr. Hawke? That's where I'm going to leave it, Oz, there, with that topic, because that's what it was designed for in 1983. That little green card, Medicare, was, basic health insurance for every Australian from a baby right up until the Prime Minister. But it hasn't turned out like that. Some is good for the goose, not good for the gander. And the Australian people are missing out and they're suffering because of the so-called gap. Because doctors can't keep their surgeries running. Well, I think that's a whole lot of crap. Anyway, so tell me what you think in a comment, Oz. You know, because it's important. We need this feedback because there's too much hoo-ha carrying on about the debate of the gap and, you know, and this, that and all the other. We know, you know, the doctors are suffering. But, excuse me, got a bit of a tickle. But the Australian ordinary Joe, the Australian people are suffering. Anyway, that's one little him-ha niggle I've got out of the way. Now, you know, like everybody, I didn't put a tube out on the, quote, the date, should I say, 26, for anything, because I was thinking about it, you know, I was thinking about it. I thought, okay, there's a lot of objection and new ideas coming to Oz, and they're trying to enter Parliament with the voice, and I don't know, with recognition of the Aboriginal people, the true Australians. But when I say true Australians, you know, like, I do understand when that date, the 26th, comes along, Australians, they celebrate. But I think they're celebrating, I'm not quite sure. I've been talking to some older people in life. What is the 26th? What do you think of it? What is it? And a lot of them are gun-ho Aussie, you know, Toorah and Beauty Nuke and bloody oath mate and yee-haw, you know, don't act like a bloody galah, you dickhead, and all that sort of thing, and let's have a beer, eh, mate, Beauty Nuke. But the thing is, I don't think people are, you know, on that side of the pendulum, as one would say, realise what the Aboriginal people would be objecting to on that date. And my opinion, what I think the Aboriginal people are objecting to on that date, and for it to be changed, is on that date was the first, they invaded, I mean, from their boats, they set, you know, their foot on soil, and from there, there was that invasion of white men, Europeans, and there would have been a lot of slaughter, a lot of misery, sadness on that day. And as the days, and I don't know whether it would have been the 26th that they started celebrations, but they started the invasion, and there would have been celebrations in the colonies and so forth, and their achievements and that sort of thing. So perhaps, I don't know, we get that side of, you know, and convicts coming over and that sort of thing, and as, you know, generations and, you know, go past, and people are Australian from the Australian that first set soil in Australia and all that sort of thing, and the first colonies and that sort of thing, and were they convicts and that sort of thing, would have an impact on how they think and what Australia means to them. But the Aboriginal people, the true natives, would say this was a day of sadness, misery. of the Europeans setting foot on Australian soil, and as from there they would have had celebrations and whatever else over the coming weeks and months. I think they would have. So is that to be changed for the 26th? I can understand. I do understand. And I agree with that. But I'm stating what I believe and what you know, when I talk to people, I ask them things and what they believe in and that sort of thing, and I believe that's what the true Aboriginal people, the Aboriginal community, the true people of Australia are objecting about. So if we were to change Australia Day, okay, I'd be fine with that, because that's what I think, that's why it would be changed, because of that day, the invasion, setting soil on the land and what happened. But as far as capping the celebrations and whatever else, we've had that for generations. I mean, we're not responsible. This generation and a lot of generations aren't responsible for what happened, but we still celebrate Australia Day, or people do. And I think it extends back from the generations in their family, you know, and how their family come to be in Australia, and que sera. So to cap celebrations, I think, would be ridiculous, because we've had it so long now, and so why would you change celebration or suppress that? Because celebrating a culture and recognition, which Australia has recognised and does recognise Australian people, the Aboriginal community. A lot of support out there, and as time goes by there will be more support, more recognition and more understanding, I believe. But we've got to take it slow, you know, and we've got to understand that, well, I believe that the true elders of the land have got the real voice and what needs to be changed. And politics should not enter that. There should be spokespeople in Parliament, but it should be the true elders that are there of the land as spokespeople in Parliament. So I'll leave that there, because it's a very, very interesting topic, isn't it? I mean, once you get going on things, you tend to think, So it is very much, you know, you look at things, and if you stop to think about things, how it would have been, and why people or certain things are there and being objected about. So I've thought about it, you know. But anyway, I'll leave it there, Oz, with that, because that was not a him-ha niggle, just more putting it out there that I do understand why they'd want to change the date, and but the celebrations, we can do so much more with the celebrations, and I think it'd be a shame if we suppress that. And I think it'd be a shame, and I think it would cause conflict here in Oz if we tried to suppress that. But with the Australian people, because we're multicultural too. We've got so many cultures here that we celebrate. So why should we suppress celebrating being Australian? You know. Anyway, so that's that. Another thing I was wondering about, like the government, it's good, when my tube's on coercive control, and I'm putting out there, in my tubes, which I have, excuse me, how important it is for women to escape and to have somewhere when they do escape or decide that they're going to reach out, get help, and do start to have a road of recovery. And I believe that more safe houses, and more support for women out there in the community that need, support, not only with the internet. And that's wonderful, these dating apps, and it's all wonderful and great, terrific, and that's great. We're heading in the right direction. But I do think you're missing the point. The predators are always around, whether they be on the internet or not. And safeguarding the internet, there's so much there that does save the internet and safeguard the internet. And these dating apps and the people there that have these dating apps should be responsible for the commitment of the clients that decide to go on these apps. So, but I personally think the government's got to now, because there's no, well, it's really frustrating because the government now, and the women involved in implementing programs and so forth, there's a panel of women, and I put tubes out about it, wanting to do bigger and better things for people and women that are in coercive control and trying to escape, and que sera. But it's not good enough. In 2023, really, the dating app, great. I seen that about a week or two ago. What else is happening? And maybe one or two minor changes, but there's nothing to really impact the women, the ordinary women of Australia, that are actually impacted by coercive control. No real support out there in the immediate community. And I think that's poor. So the government wants to pull their finger out and start doing things to support women in their communities with instant support, instant recognition that these women are in danger and they need safe houses, not only for their children and their self, but also for their animals. And I've been hearing lately about a lot of people that are actually trying to escape coercive control, but they've got nowhere to go apart from out on the street. And if they go to their family, they're petrified that the people that they're involved with is going to do harm to their family or their friends. And so many times it does. It ends up, these people, these predators end up, tormenting and, taunting people. And it's a terrible thing. It shouldn't be like that. Women should be able to leave a destructive relationship, whether it be psychological, physical, and substance abuse. Most of the time, psychological and physical, they're hand in hand, they go in one. But if they're lucky to escape with those two, they should have a place in society, a number, somewhere they can go instant without feeling if they go out that door, where in the hell are they going to go? They can't go to mum and dad because this person that they're involved with. The predator might kill their mother or their father, or go to their friends, track them down. The scenarios are endless, government. So start to think about things for the ordinary women dealing with coercive control in ordinary life, in ordinary communities, because it's not good enough. So, and that's my him-ha niggle. I shall be on that this year. Women of Oz, because it's a pissle. I've been sitting back watching things, little things that they do. Big deal. You know, a lot of women are past the point. They're past the point of the dating app. They're in the relationship. Hello? You know, they're trapped. They need to escape. Goodness sake. But anyway, that was something I had to bring up, get off my chest, a him-ha niggle, because I just thought it was ridiculous the way everything's going there. And I thought it's very important for this year of 2023, because we got so much to contend with this year. And I really feel for the working class man, you know, the ordinary Joe, and the, you know, the women of Australia, and doing it hard this year. A lot of families with the worry and the threat of their homes being taken away if they can't keep their mortgages up, feeding their kids, putting them through school, just basic living, petrol, electricity, gas prices, you name it. What ain't going to hit the Australian Joe this year that ain't going to go hurt in the pocket? Well, mind boggles, doesn't it? Oz, mind boggles. But anyway, I think that's all I've got to say, basically, you know, about things. They were important because, you know, you think about things and you think it's annoying, because good things in Oz seem to disappear, and it just gets harder and harder and harder. And you think there were things designed for Australia and Australian people that are disappearing or crumbling before our eyes, like Medicare. So that's why I had to put it out there, my 2-bit Bob, do a Dorry Evans, you know, but say what I believe on my channel, because I'm for the Australian people, the working class Joe. So I'm going to put my nose in where it's not concerned, because I believe in Australia. I love Australia, and my channel is it represents Australia. So it's going to be like that for this year, for 2023. I'm going to